this will be a critical economic artery that will need to be protected because if that is hurt, then the economy is hurt, and that again has knock-on political effects. If people run into shortages, price rises, the war becomes suddenly very unpopular, even at a distance and even at such a distance as the US. Of course, within the US, this will be an unpopular war for many reasons. We have seen signs of that. But here now the question is the economic fallout of this. And these are just the first few hours. We've seen the decision, the outcome on that fallout will depend upon the resilience of Iran's military capacity.
An advisory being issued, in fact, by the Indian embassy in Qatar as we speak. They've, in fact, just now sent out a word saying everyone's requested to follow the emergency alert by local authorities in the interest of public safety. Everyone is urged to stay away from the vicinity of military sites and stay inside buildings, whether in homes or elsewhere, and not to go out or move except for the utmost necessity to avoid exposure to any risks. Ambassador Chakrabarti, the situation remains on high alert. Clearly, Middle East on the tenterhooks.
Absolutely, and I think we'll have to watch it minute to minute to see what happens next. But it's not going to stop very soon, that's for sure. And I think this will go on for quite some time. How long, very difficult to predict. It depends on the resilience of the Iranian regime, how long they can fight. So those are some of the constraints on them, because their supply lines, I do not know how good they are, because now they will be all under pressure. The internet is not working, communication will not work. So Iran is under real pressure now, and so they will have to really their backs are to the wall, but they will fight. I mean, there's no way Iran is going to surrender.
All right, stay with me, Ambassador and Sanjay, both, because we're getting in some more breaking inputs. In fact, Israeli officials have confirmed that they have indications of hits on significant figures in the Iranian leadership. This, as the chatter, in fact, grows louder about the whereabouts of Khomeini. Many are saying that he's already hidden in a bunker, but the Israeli officials, the IDF going on official record to confirm that they have indications to establish the fact that significant figures in the Iranian leadership have been hit. Let me quickly take this forward with Sanjay. Yes, Sanjay, what more can you tell us? All right, we're also getting in reactions from Israel as we speak, because remember, evacuation is also currently on. An Indian student in Israel has also spoken out. I'll quickly play that reaction out for you.
Hi everyone, I'm an Indian student and currently I'm in Tehran. The situation here feels really worse and uncertain. We really don't know what's going to happen next. We're really grateful that the Government of India and the Ministry of External Affairs are in discussion for our safety. But in the times like these, speed matters a lot. I'm not even able to say these things because the airstrikes are happening and it's getting really worse for us. We just request for the quicker and clear evacuation as soon as possible. Please do not wait for the situation to get worse. Just help us. Just get us out of here as soon as possible.
So that was an Indian student stuck in Tehran, actually. Let me quickly take that forward with Sanjay, who continues to stay. Extremely gut-wrenching to hear those students appealing for help, given that this was an attack which was on expected lines. Sanjay, perhaps the government could have ensured a timely evacuation?
Yes, most certainly, because this was coming. And meanwhile, there is some reason for concern here as well. I've just received an alert here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It says rocket and missile fire in your area and get to a shelter within 1.5 minutes. We've just this minute, in the last few seconds, had this alert. So there is some cause for concern here. But of course, at the moment, it's Iran that's taking the brunt of these attacks. And students and others in Iran certainly would be very concerned. We've heard that very touching appeal a minute back that you played out. and there will be questions asked whether more could have been done to get people out of Tehran, because that was always going to be first in the firing line and get the worst of it. And there is a danger there, but there is a good deal of missile fire now from Iran aimed at Israel. A lot of these missiles are underway as we speak. So there is unrest to varying extents across this whole region. Of course, there is no place that's more alarming to be in at the moment than Tehran.
Sanjay, going to request you to kindly take, cover, because there seems to be an alert issued in that area where Sanjay is currently stationed right now. Situation currently quickly blowing out of control. Let's quickly go across to Iranian activist Eli Jamali, who's joining us live from the United States. Eli, we've connected earlier as well, and I remember in the last conversation we had, you were urging the US for an intervention. Do you see this as the beginning of that intervention, and do you see this as an advent for external powers now to be coming and taking over Iran?
Well, good morning, actually from London at the moment. We're still active in London, but New York is next week. So what's happening in Iran at the moment is an unfolding of a rescue mission of 90 million people all at once. Of course, it's going to be full of noise. Of course, it's going to be full of bombs. And unfortunately, Iranian people have been waiting for bombs to fall on Iran under a regime that has been killing and targeting people, even in the hospitals over the past 2 months. The death toll in Iran at the hands of this regime has been so much higher than any modern war over long periods of time in the space of 48 hours. The current rescue mission carried out by the Israelis and the American high forces, an incredible army, is a beacon of hope for the Iranian people. The videos coming out of Iran right now, I mean, my heart absolutely goes out to all of the Iranian people who do not have shelter. I mean, this regime has brought in a war without sheltering any Iranians. I mean, they have gone and embedded themselves even in civilian areas of the cities, biggest, most populated cities. And my heart goes out to the lovely Indian student stuck in Tehran who's pleading to the Indian government to help her and rescue her out of that war zone at the moment. But what I wonder is, why was she not rescued during the last 2 months when the most horrific attacks on Iranian people were happening? She was at risk then. She is at risk now. And I pray that she, like all the Iranians who are going to be free soon, are free of this dangers that is facing them. But my heart goes to Iranian people who don't have anywhere to go at the moment in these days. There are the amount of despair and poverty this regime has caused on Iranian people, and the lack of resources on times like this is one of the things that is quite frightening. And like I said, there is no shelters in place for Iranian people other than their homes. So I am reassured with the statement that President Donald Trump made earlier today in White House, the White House released a statement that he encouraged Iranian people to stay at home because they are not the targets. They are obviously surgically targeting IRGC and regime forces and regime members who are actively part of the oppression of Iranian people. Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi also sent a message to the Iranian people reassuring them that this rescue mission is not a war on Iran, and it's a waging act against a terrorist regime that has held Iranian people at gunpoint for the past 47 years, and specifically for the past 2 months. So hopefully this is the beginning of an end for this regime, officially and once and for all.
Right. There's also news that is just coming in. The situation, as we were reporting, is quite tense, and news that is just coming in. Iran's Supreme National Security Council, the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran, has already made arrangements to meet all societal needs, and there is no concern regarding the supply of essential goods. Schools and universities will remain closed until further notice. Banks will continue providing service to the noble people of Iran. Government offices will operate at 50% capacity for the time being. So that's the news that is coming in, the official word that is now coming in from Iran. about the steps that are being taken, the Iranian people being assured by Iran's Supreme National Security Council that as far as essentials are concerned, Iran is well equipped and it has made arrangements for that. As far as schools and colleges and universities go, they will remain shut. Workforce at 50%, banks will continue providing services. This is the month of Ramzan that we are talking about, and there's a lot of concern. But this is the news that we have, Sanjay. So the people of Iran being assured by the government of the day there that don't worry, we are in control.
Well, how much weight that assurance carries is uncertain, because there's going to be a difference between rhetoric and reality. As there always is in a war situation, the government will be keen to put out messages of reassurance to calm people down and to prevent any mass panic that then could feed a revolt against the regime itself. So this is a predictable message of reassurance. How much weight it carries, we do not know as of now. We do not know the extent of damage that will be caused over what period of time. Above all, the question whether people begin to crack from within, whether there will be cracks within the government system, within the IRGC. We have seen some reports that there has been an element of disaffection even within the IRGC. This is the testing time now. This is when we will know if and to what extent that may be true at all. Also, there is a question of how much supplies are available with the government. Iran has been hit and hurt with sanctions for a long time now. There is not a great deal of stockpile. There's not a great deal of resilience within the system to keep people supplied. If this were to drag on, and if really Iran puts up a fight, this will drag on for a bit, without doubt. So there is a question of time frame here. There's a question of what there is people can be supplied with. These are early hours we are in, and the assurance is, well, 50% this, 50% work that. This may not last long if the matters as they're developing get out of hand and go the way they're going.
And the indications are that this could just be the beginning. I mean, the war could be prolonged, even though Iranian government is assuring Iran's population that we have stocked enough. But how much is enough if this war is going to drag on? Indications from the United States and from Israel that this is not a one-off strike that has happened.
Well, enough is just a word. It's not a number. It's not a quantity. And the question is how much the Iranian government has. It's not likely that there is a lot, because there have been shortages, and these are shortages that have provoked the protests that we saw. It's not likely that in an effort to calm the protests, it would have held on to masses of food and equipment and supplies to people rather than offer it to them. The reports from Iran have been that the government has been offering food to people, offering support to people to try and calm them down, people later at some stage.
And what is the indication that is available at this stage about the kind of damage already inflicted? Even though Iran is putting up a brave face, indications from the other side seems to be that some of their top leadership and top military installations could have already faced the brunt of the strike that has happened.
Well, that is already happening. I don't know if even there's an if about that. Certainly, Iran has been hit very hard. And if there is an if here, it is that we really don't know yet the full extent of this, because it's just happening. And this is a very, very massive attack, as it would be. Having decided to go for it, it's not likely that the US will hold back or Israel will hold back. They would have predetermined targets. They would have had a plan to attack these targets, figured out the means to do so, the timing, what, where, when, and they're going at it. This is not something that is going to soften in a hurry, and in fact, it would be in the interests of the US and of Israel to hit early, to hit very hard, in order, if their intention is to try and avert too much damage, in order to provoke a revolt, both within the government, within the IRGC, within other political circles within government, and also to try and encourage protest from people. And this is not an if either. President Trump has said so much. He has said that IRGC should revolt, either they should surrender or they will die. He has asked people to come out and protest against the regime. So he's trying clearly to encourage people to go against their own government, so that the third ally after the US and Israel would be the very people of Iran and people who are disaffected within the government. That is the hope. And if that were to happen, that would be perhaps the least disastrous of the outcomes in terms of human lives and loss and damage. At the moment, we haven't seen that, but again, this is a bit early to say if that will happen at all and when that might happen.
Any indication, Sanjay, third ally as you call them, is there anything that the Israeli authorities or the American authorities are even indicating about how this third ally is really responding to the situation inside Iran?
Well, the response time is too short as of now. The areas in Tehran have just been hit, and IRGC is which has been targeted foremost, as it would be. There has been a lot of damage going by the reports we've received so far, and a loss of lives, and this is a considerable loss of lives. In the face of that, what the rest of IRGC will do is what we are waiting to see, because this is a testing time for them. If this revolt is to come, it will have to come soon. If not, and if they hold on, if IRGC stays together as a force, they decide to fight it out, they do not move against the regime, it's very difficult to see that people, unarmed people on the streets, will be able to force the regime out. If the regime has to crack in a hurry, and if that collapse were to be provoked or induced from within, that would have to be primarily the IRGC that will have to do it, and the police and their militia, the Basij militia, and their other armed groups and forces in that area. It is they who will have to rise against the regime to bring about an early downfall. It will be that disciplined force that will have to start cracking. And certainly they would have anticipated this. They would have had a leadership in place predicting that this would be the aim, to try and also then to toughen people and to withstand these pressures. So all these pressures, one way and the other, are playing out currently.
And once again, Sanjay, to go back to that assurance that has come in from the Iranian authorities there, the assurance that has come in about supplies being adequate, the Supreme National Security, Iran Supreme National Security Council has given that assurance that the government of Islamic Republic of Iran has made arrangements to meet all societal needs. Now, once again, Sanjay, this is the month of Ramzan that we are talking about. In this holy month, for such a strike to happen, if you compare how Iran responded last time around, and they were expecting this kind of a strike. So do you think they would have prepared enough? Once again, like you said, the word enough is just a figure, a way of saying it. One just doesn't know what quantity, what is it that we are talking about in terms of days or week. So when this statement is made, when this assurance is made, put it into perspective in terms of how Iran responded the last time.
Well, if there was enough, the Iranian government would have seen that people have enough, and that would have blunted the protests that took place. The protests that took place came because the value of the rial really collapsed, and the value of the rial collapsed because importers had to pay a very high price for products in very limited supply. That was their problem. On the other hand, the Iranian government imposed a price limit at which these goods could be sold. The two simply did not add up, and this led to the crisis. People were deprived of food. People who are getting very paltry incomes simply do not have money to put food on the table. This is what provoked the protests to begin with. Had there been enough at the time, surely the government in Iran would have shared that enough with people and tried to blunt the protests. Since then, sanctions have become tougher. The war situation has been developing, and scarcities are certain to have increased. And so the situation would have got worse necessarily and not better. So this kind of assurance from the Iranian government that there's enough is something that will have to be tested, and it's a very difficult time for that testing. This is the month of Ramzan, and after a day's fasting, people break their fast at the end of the day after sunset, and whether there will be something for them after a day's fasting on day 1, day 2, day 4, day 10, if this goes on and on, if this shortage continues, and shortages certainly there are, then this itself could do something to provoke unrest among people and to provoke a rebellion, which is exactly what the US and Israel would like to see.
Right. Sanjay, do hold on. Let me also bring in Iranian activist Elaha Jamili, who's in London. Elaha, just help us understand. You were telling us earlier about the situation back in Iran. Have you managed to establish contact with anyone there? Any first-hand report about the kind of situation that people are in at the moment?
At the moment, one of the videos circulating around is a bunch of schoolboys who saw and witnessed the excuse me, explosion, and they are celebrating and they're jumping up and down. But these are high school boys who have seen their own friends be shot to death over the past 2 months. So when one of them shouts at "I love you, Trump," all the other kids are also pretty excited about this. So while there is a lot of fear and it's a traumatic experience to hear bombs, and I'm sure Iranians are afraid, especially because of the fact that there are no supplies. Just like Sanjay was mentioning, time and time again, there are no food supplies. During the 12-day war in June, within 3 days, food supplies were done in north of Iran. Rice, oil, all the major food supplies were finished. People don't really have anywhere to run to. There is, before the uprising in Iran, when the value of real had not even collapsed to zero at that time, hospitals were low on supplies for medications. The water scarcities meant many hours a day in all the major cities in Iran, there would be no water. Electricity keeps on getting shut off. So all of these lies that the security forces and the high-profile regime members come on so-called Seda and Sima, and they spew lies to people just to make themselves feel better. It's an absolute, it's an empty drum that it has been banging for 47 years. And now they are facing the consequence of that loud, annoying noise, which also targeted only Iranian people. Let us not forget that during the 12-day war, this regime was not happy with the fact that Israel is carrying such surgical actions against their heads of IRGC and staff. Enough casualties from civilians are not rising up, so that the regime went and threw a ballistic missile on the northern area of Tehran called Narmak, killing more than 700 households. So what we are witnessing right now in Iran, as the Iranian people are calling it themselves, is indeed a rescue mission. It's going to be very difficult for Iranian people to fully be rid of this regime, but I'm sure it's not going to be as difficult as seeing hundreds of and thousands of Iranian young people be shot dead in the streets, in the hospitals, in prisons, inside their own homes. The atrocities this regime commits against Iranians first and the rest of the world after has already been witnessed by the world. We know what they are capable of. Iranian people know what they are capable of. And that is why, for the past 2 months, we have gone time and time again across the globe, throughout the diaspora, outside the American embassy, and saying, President Trump, keep your promise.
No, but Eli, the situation that we are seeing currently, how realistic is it for those who want a regime change to hit the streets when the missiles are trained on them, and you just don't know where the next missile is going to land? Given that reality, how realistic, and in your assessment, if these protesters were to hit the street, how soon could that response come?
So at the moment, the protesters are actually in the people of Iran by the president himself, President Trump himself, have been encouraged to stay at home at the moment. Why? Because there will be missiles, because there will be bombs. And yes, there are no shelters in Iran. So their most safest place for them is their own homes, because their households are not going to be targeted by the Americans. If they are capable of pulling the Operation Black Hammer, Midnight Hammer, in June, they are definite, and the surgical removal of IRGC within buildings. I mean, remember Yahya Sinwar and Esmail Haniyeh. Esmail Haniyeh was in Tehran when only his room in the villa that he was staying at was taken. The regime knows they are exactly they are fully exposed. The regime knows that the American intelligence and the Israeli intelligence know exactly what they have done to our Iranian people, and the regime knows that the consequences of their actions is now meeting them and knocking them on the door. The Iranian people hopefully will not suffer too much from this, not at the hands of the regime and not as a consequence of this war. However, my heart goes out to the Israelis who have to run between shelters every 5 minutes right now because this regime is acting out with its ballistic missiles. The might of the military that is surrounding Iran is not just for the rescue of Iranian people, it is for the rescue of the Middle East and Israel too. And I stand with the people of Israel. War, they are willing to run to shelters. Mothers who are pregnant are saying, I am willing to run into a shelter with my unborn child if it means Iran is going to be free as the Islamic Republic is throwing missiles at us. So Iranian people stand with the Israeli people. And in this war, we will win against the darkness that is unfolded against the entire Middle East and the international community.
Right. Sanjay, if you're still there, want to come in on that because you were reporting a short while back of receiving a message to take shelter and that there could be a threat in that area that you are positioned in. In the last hour, couple of hours, what is it that you can tell us about the situation around you?
Well, we've had 2 alerts here in Tel Aviv since morning, and these are alerts that sound over the public siren system and also over the app, which everyone carries, the home app. And this has been an alert advising people to take shelter because there is information that Iranian missiles are on their way to targeting Tel Aviv. There has been one wave of these missiles launched, and certainly there will be more. So this alert has been issued. It's not an alert that everyone takes very seriously, and not everyone goes to a shelter. And consider that today is Shabbat, it's a holiday here. So a lot of the offices are all closed. The shelters that we could be looking at will be people sheltering in their own homes or in their own neighborhood in their shelters. And there are shelters everywhere, every home, every office, there's a shelter. And so people are there. In public space, the public shelters are not being used very actively for the reason simply that it's a holiday and it's been an early morning start to the day, start to this war. So people haven't stepped out of their homes even for a day out necessarily, other than to just some places around in the neighborhood as they have over here.
Right. Sanjay, do hold on because there are reports coming in from across the region. We've getting reports that there was some kind of a explosion. Reuters has reported that sound of another massive explosion was heard in Dubai. We're putting out pictures for you from Abu Dhabi as well. In Abu Dhabi too, a statement has been put out by their Interior Ministry saying that in light of the situation and the development that is happening in that area, Ministry of Interior is closely following regional developments and affirm that it is highest level of readiness. So this is not limited to 2 countries or 3 countries alone. The entire region is currently watching the situation unfold and there's a lot of apprehension. We'll keep our focus on this story, but slipping into a very quick break. Stay with us. We come back with more news and updates on this big story.
Start, of course, with Shami bhai because मैंने उनको पहले ही बोल दिया था रेडी रहे. You know, शमी भाई सबसे ज़्यादा जो सब सुनना चाहेंगे आपसे वो है 2023 वर्ल्ड कप की यादें. बहुत ही रेयरली ऐसा होता है कि कोई वर्ल्ड कप इंडिया ना जीते या कोई टीम ना जीते और फाइनल में जाके उनको हार्ट ब्रेक झेलना पड़े, लेकिन एक प्लेयर की परफॉर्मेंस पूरे देश और पूरी दुनिया को याद रहती है. वो परफॉर्मेंस थी आपकी इस वर्ल्ड कप में. बिग राउंड ऑफ अप्लॉज फॉर मोहम्मद शमी हु वाज द मैन ऑफ द टूर्नामेंट रियली एज फार एज द 2023 वर्ल्ड कप इज कंसर्न. इंडिया कुडंट विन द टाइटल, बट अब आप उस 2023 वर्ल्ड कप के बारे में सोचते हैं तो क्या सोचते हैं, क्या याद आता है?
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तो यार कि सबसे पहले हम लोगों ने जो वो फील किया, वो जो आप लोगों का प्यार दिखा वहाँ पे, और वो जो एक होता है ना कि जज्बा दिखाई देता है लोगों में भी, वो एक अलग पंप करता है हमें एज ए प्लेयर. क्योंकि जब हम ग्राउंड में होते हैं तो क्राउड का सपोर्ट एक नेक्स्ट लेवल ले जाता है हमें. तो वो भी एक अलग लेवल का नज़र आ रहा था 2023 में. जहाँ तक परफॉर्मेंस की सवाल है, कहते हैं ना कि एक ड्रीम होता है कि इंसान ऐसा करना चाहता है क्रिकेट में, या फिर मैं ऐसा बॉल डालना चाहता हूँ, या मैं बॉल से बात करना चाहता हूँ। सो उस तरीके का वो परफॉर्मेंस चल रहा था, क्योंकि हमेशा आईसीसी इवेंट में मैं फर्स्ट मैचेस में मैं रेस्ट रहा हूँ, हमेशा मैंने पानी पिला के कंट्रीब्यूट किया है। तो मैं हमेशा वेट करता रहता था कि जब आपका टर्न आएगा, जब आपको मौका मिलेगा, जब आपको टीम को ज़रूरत होगी, आप कितने प्रिपेयर हैं, कितने तैयार हैं उस चीज़ के लिए, आप कितना हंगर हैं आप विकेट लेने के लिए। तो वो मैं हमेशा वेट करता था। लेकिन 2023 वर्ल्ड कप में जो पहली परफॉर्मेंस आई मेरी धर्मशाला में, उसके बाद मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था कि लाइफ में एक मोमेंट आता है ना कि मैं ये ऊंचाइयां छूना चाहता हूँ। मैं बॉल के साथ वो फील कर रहा था, बॉल हाथ में लेके, कि मैं इससे जो चाहे कर सकता हूँ।
वाह।
तो ये एक टाइम पे आता है, ऐसे बैट्समैन भी आता है कि हाँ हमारा टच ऐसा होता है कि
इन द जोन जिसे कहते हैं।
नहीं, किसी दिन ऐसा होता है कि आप एज ए बैट्समैन भी अगर आप चाहें कि हाँ कि मैं ना मारना चाहूँ लेकिन वो बैट में आके लगती है। तो वैसा ही वो फील चल रहा था। और जो मोमेंटम था टीम का वो आपने देखा ही है, और जो क्रेज पब्लिक में था, जो सपने सबको दिखते थे, उससे ज़्यादा तो हमें दिखते थे, रात को नींद नहीं आती थी। लेकिन कहते हैं ना, नसीब को कोई नहीं बदल सकता। लेकिन मैंने वो बॉल के साथ वो फील किया है, ऐसा लगता था जैसे मैं बात कर रहा हूँ बॉल के साथ और बॉल मेरे हिसाब से चल रही है। तो वो मेरी लाइफ के बेस्ट दिन रहे हैं वर्ल्ड कप के। वर्ल्ड कप मैंने बहुत खेले हैं, लेकिन वो बॉल के साथ जो कनेक्शन बना था वो मुझे ऐसा लगता है लाइफ में कभी नहीं बना।
अमेजिंग, इट वॉज सीरियसली अमेजिंग टू वॉच यू परफॉर्म लाइक दैट। लेकिन जब आप पहले कुछ मैचेस में जब वेट कर रहे थे, जैसे आपने बोला कि पहले 1-2 मैचेस में आपको बेंच पे ही बैठना पड़ता है, तब दिमाग में मतलब बहुत नर्वसनेस थी कि मेरा मौका आएगा नहीं आएगा, कब तक आएगा, जब तक आएगा ऐसा ना हो कि मैं जो ये जोन है मेरा जोन ही निकल जाए जब तक मेरे मैच आएगा।
नहीं, हिस्ट्री उठाकर देखो, सारे वर्ल्ड कप में ऐसे ही हुआ है मेरे साथ। एक शो में मैंने और भी बोला था कि शायद मुझे उसका फल मिलता हो कि आप उतना वेट कर रहे हैं, आप उतना बेसब्री से इंतजार कर रहे हैं कि आप कब खेलेंगे। लेकिन ये पार्ट ऑफ द गेम है, आपकी टीम है, आपकी कंट्री है, आपके लिए।
Iran's worst fears have appeared to be coming true. This as Israel and the United States have launched a major coordinated strike deep inside Iranian territory. Israel has said this was a preemptive strike to remove existential threats. A very good afternoon. You're watching CNN News 18. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. In the latest conflict that's now brewing over Iran, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, and the US President Donald Trump both have asserted in the strongest words that Iran cannot be allowed to have nuclear weapons. Iran is now retaliating, firing ballistic missiles at northern Israel, triggering repeated sirens as Israeli air defenses attempt intercepts. Israel remains under a national emergency with schools, gatherings, and even most workplaces closed. And turning to the Indian angle now, India's embassy in Tel Aviv has issued an urgent advisory saying citizens have been asked to stay alert, follow all instructions from Israeli authorities, avoid non-essential movement, and remain close to the designated shelters. In fact, let's quickly bring you some more perspective. I'm joined in by Nia Gorbani, who's an Iranian activist. I can see Sanjay Suri is also joining us live from Israel. I'm also joined in by Eli Jamali, who is an Iranian activist. Thank you for joining in. Let me quickly first go across to Sanjay for the latest lowdown. Sanjay, we are being told that an advisory is being issued for all of those Indians. What is the latest status in terms of the evacuation taking place?
Well, at the moment, there's no evacuation underway of Indians in Israel. What we have is a caution, and people are being advised to take shelter and to take precautions. It's at the moment not reached the level of a crisis here in Israel as you have in Iran, and that is where the urgency for evacuation would arise. Of course, in Iran, it's too late for evacuation. But you have a number of Indians here in Israel, a very large number. There are a number of recent migrants from India and particularly from Kerala and one or two other states, and they work in the in the service sector. A lot of them are caregivers, and a lot of the people in need of constant care are really being looked after by Indians. So that's a very large number of people here. And then, of course, you have a very strong Indian Jewish community. By some estimates, about 150,000 at least. They are people who have been living in Israel for a long time, and they are Israeli citizens. So for all of them, the advice remains, as it does for Israelis just about everywhere, that warnings should be taken seriously. There are very precise guidelines in place. People have been familiarized with these for long. They've had training, they've had dry runs for what to do in an emergency. They know exactly what to do. Some people clearly choosing not to do so, and they are outdoors when the advice at the moment is to be inside a shelter. So this is a situation where people will take their own decisions, but bearing in mind that it's a holiday today, people are in their homes anyway, and the attack came early morning Israeli time, and so a lot of people simply did not stir out of their houses into open spaces at all, and they're mostly hiding at home.
Stay with me. Let me quickly go across to Niak Ghorbani, Iranian activist, also joining us on the broadcast. Niak, remember, it's a timing which is in fact being also questioned at the moment, given it's the holy month of Ramadan. The Iranian regime is going to ensure that they avenge for such kind of an attack. What is this going to mean, not just for the regime in Iran, but also for the people of Iran, given that this is the second time around an attack of this nature has taken place in less than a year, that too when the negotiations have been on. This is bound to also jettison the overall negotiation process, but what will this mean for the Iranians?
So early morning today, I get a phone call from the Iranian inside Iran, from my family. They called me and said, finally, we get what we want. We get help from President Trump. And we saw actually lots of footage from Tehran. The people, the strike actually is going, but the people in streets celebrating the strike. And they are happy, the Iranian people are happy because we don't have any other option. We can't actually fight against Islamic Republic with empty hands. But right now, we get help from US and Israeli military. The Iranian people are super happy. They don't care about, what's going to be happen. But the final actually results for us, it's the freedom. And we are happy about that, and lots of Iranian people inside Iran, outside Iran, liberating.
All right, Niak, stay with me. I'm getting in some breaking inputs. In fact, the Israeli media, as we're being told, has currently confirmed that among the attack targets, there is Ayatollah Khamenei and the Iranian President Pezeshkian. This, as Israeli officials also had given a confirmation that they had enough indications that high-profile targets had been hit during the missile strikes that were conducted by the United States and Israel. And in the latest, what we can tell you is that very confirmations also coming out in media reports. Among the attack targets have been Khamenei and the Iranian President Pezeshkian. Let's quickly take this forward with Sanjay. Sanjay, remember the big question is in terms of the whereabouts of the President and, of course, of the Ayatollah as well.
Well, this is no surprise that Khamenei would be a target, the number one target. Pezeshkian would be a target. Top IRGC commanders would be a target. This was known. Clearly, this would be the aim of the US and Israel, to target them first. And the latest reports we have suggest that some of these targets have been hit. Now, that is as yet vague. We do not quite know whether as of now that means that Khamenei has been killed or Pezeshkian has been killed. No such confirmation, no such indication as yet. And certainly they would have anticipated these, but there is a level of anticipation you can have and no more, and a level of precaution you can take and no more. Clearly, Mossad has very good intelligence within Iran, as does the CIA. and they would have been tracking the movements and the position of these leaders very closely. Whether that is foolproof, we do not know yet, because the Iranians would have also anticipated this and taken their own steps. They have been targeted, but if it does turn out, as some of these reports appear to suggest, that there has been a successful strike against both Khamenei and Pezeshkian Khamenei particularly, then that can change the situation at least two different levels. First, it means the loss of the top leadership would mean a loss of confidence in the system, so that there are people within the government who will lose faith in their ability to hold out. Second, it will send a message to people that they really can now revolt and come out and protest and have strength on their side.
Right.
So these would be the most encouraging steps, that successes that Israel and the US can have, and we are waiting final confirmation that that indeed may have happened, yes.
Let me quickly go across to Elahe Jamali as well, who continues to stay with us. Elahe, remember just 3 days ago, close to 350 Iranian researchers, academics, also political figures, all of them had signed a joint petition urging for no war, no conflict, because everyone now seems to be of this opinion that war is not going to end the ongoing crisis. It's only going to bring death, destruction, and going to add to the poverty in the country. Do you think that this kind of an intervention, where we are seeing the situation quickly spiral out of control, will be able to bring any respite to the Iranians?
I'm just going to use the 12-day war as an example again. During that operation, Iranian people were faced with the ballistic missiles thrown at the hands of the Islamic Republic's regime in an Iranian state. 750 households were hit by an Iranian ballistic missile. So I want to know, where were these people when the Iranian people were getting killed in the hospitals? How many letters did they sign during that time? What did they do to make sure that this regime is falling? If they are so worried for Iran and Iranian people, what did they do in order to support the resistance against this regime when Iranian people came out to the streets in their millions? So when the Iranian people from the diaspora and from inside of Iran call out to President Trump to keep his promise, that is the message I'm going to focus on. That is the message I'm going to carry forward. And poverty has already been the curse of this regime in my beautiful country, to the point that Iranians have turned into slaves at the hands of a regime where children have to die in bins. Poverty is already there. Water scarcity, the infrastructure of a country that has fallen into ruins has already been in place under the hands of this regime. This is not war. It's a rescue mission, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Nayak, we heard what Elahe is saying. She's saying that this is a rescue mission. Do you think any form of foreign aggression can be interpreted as a rescue mission, given that we are seeing what's happened to the economies in countries like Syria, even Egypt and Afghanistan, all of them, Iraq? We've seen the kind of incursions that have taken place at the hands of the United States. Are they great examples to follow as far as the people of Iran are concerned?
Actually, the Iranian are not Iraqi or Afghani, or the Iranian people are not Syrian. The Iranian people have right now their leader, their own. We have actually before U.S. military action. We have movement in Iran, revolution in Iran, which is led by Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. And right now he leading the Iranian people right now. He announcing the Iranian people and saying, you have to stay at home and till my announcement come out. The Iranian people are not alone. We have the leader. We have a true leader, which is the Iranian people are trusting him. And the Western leader, they can also trust him and being with him when they want to stand with the Iranian people. I think the final point is, this is an operation for risking the Iranian people, and I hope that's going to be success with on the support of Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, leadership of Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, and support the Western country.
All right, let me quickly go back to Sanjay. Sanjay, you know how much the Israelis have in fact borne at the moment. Given the memories of October 7 are still very fresh, we are also seeing the memories of the 12-day conflict that took place between Iran, Israel and the United States. That's also very fresh. But are the Israelis actually prepared for an out-and-out war, one which will involve not just the Middle East, but perhaps greater Western powers? There could be a possibility of a NATO involvement as well.
Well, Israelis are not just prepared for it, that they have been for a while. They've been keen on it. They have been impatient for it. There have been some degree of impatience with what has been seen here as dilly-dallying and delay on the part of Trump, and necessarily tactical and weapon systems had to be put in place before an assault of this kind and of this level. But Israel is very much on board. There are not many people here who are nervous about this war. It's what they've been waiting for. They would have, in fact, on the contrary, felt betrayed and let down had this not happened, that if there had been this build-up of the US forces and this state of preparation from Israel without an assault on Iran, this would have seen an anticlimax and an almost, it would have felt like a historic
Sanjay, I need to slip into a quick break, but I want you to quickly weigh in. There is an Israeli assessment which has just now come in, which says that there's a good chance that Ali Shamkhani, Khamenei's advisor and the one who was responsible for their ongoing nuclear program, is eliminated perhaps. That's the assessment coming in from the IDF, and this is big news indeed. Especially, I see this as an elimination which is perhaps as big as that of Soleimani's elimination. Quickly weigh in on what this could mean for Iran's nuclear program. Sanjay?
Well, for a start, the IDF doesn't put out names lightly. If the IDF has named this person as killed, it's very likely to be a credible report and indeed to have carried out this killing or elimination, as they call it. And this is a very, very top person, very close to Khamenei himself. And the big outcome that Israel certainly will be looking for and the US will be looking for is if they can target Khamenei himself. This is not Khamenei at the moment, but very close to Khamenei at the very top, and certainly very worrying for the regime in Iran.
Absolutely, given that Trump has already made up his mind that he will not have anything but complete obliteration of the nuclear sites in Iran, something that he couldn't manage to do in the June strikes. Will they manage it this time around is the other big question. We will keep bringing you all the live and latest updates. Remember, the situation is quickly spiraling out of control because this is no longer just between Israel and Iran. The US has been involved. These are joint strikes that we are talking about. Iran, of course, has vowed to avenge. They have been hitting all of those bases of the United States, whether it is Qatar, whether it is even, say, the UAE, which has shut down its airspaces. The situation is currently on tenterhooks. We will keep bringing you all the live and latest updates as we slip into a quick break. Stay tuned to CNN News 18.
Start, of course, with Shami bhai, because मैंने उनको पहले ही बोल दिया था रेडी रहे. You know, शमी भाई, सबसे ज़्यादा जो सब सुनना चाहेंगे आपसे वो है 2023 वर्ल्ड कप की यादें. बहुत ही रेयरली ऐसा होता है कि कोई वर्ल्ड कप इंडिया ना जीते या कोई टीम ना जीते और फाइनल में जाके उनको हार्ट ब्रेक झेलना पड़े, लेकिन एक प्लेयर की परफॉर्मेंस पूरे देश और पूरी दुनिया को याद रहती है. वो परफॉर्मेंस थी आपकी इस वर्ल्ड कप में. बिग राउंड ऑफ अप्लॉज फॉर मोहम्मद शमी, हु वाज द मैन ऑफ द टूर्नामेंट रियली एज फार एज द 2023 वर्ल्ड कप इज कंसर्न. इंडिया couldn't win the title, but अब आप उस 2023 वर्ल्ड कप के बारे में सोचते हैं तो क्या सोचते हैं, क्या याद आता है?
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तो यार कि सबसे पहले हम लोगों ने जो वो फील किया, वो जो आप लोगों का प्यार दिखा वहाँ पे, और वो जो एक होता है ना कि जज्बा दिखाई देता है लोगों में भी, वो एक अलग पंप करता है हमें एज ए प्लेयर, क्योंकि जब हम ग्राउंड में होते हैं तो क्राउड का सपोर्ट एक नेक्स्ट लेवल ले जाता है हमें। तो वो भी एक अलग लेवल का नज़र आ रहा था 2023 में। और जहाँ तक परफॉर्मेंस की सवाल है, कहते हैं ना कि एक ड्रीम होता है कि इंसान ऐसा करना चाहता है क्रिकेट में, या फिर मैं ऐसा बॉल डालना चाहता हूँ, या मैं बॉल से बात करना चाहता हूँ। सो उस तरीके का वो परफॉर्मेंस चल रहा था, क्योंकि हमेशा आईसीसी इवेंट में मैं फर्स्ट मैचेस में मैं रेस्ट रहा हूँ, हमेशा मैंने पानी पिला के कंट्रीब्यूट किया है। तो मैं हमेशा वेट करता रहता था कि जब आपका टर्न आएगा, जब आपको मौका मिलेगा, जब आपको टीम को ज़रूरत होगी, आप कितने प्रिपेयर हैं, कितने तैयार हैं उस चीज़ के लिए, आप कितना हंगर हैं आप विकेट लेने के लिए। तो वो मैं हमेशा वेट करता था। लेकिन 2023 वर्ल्ड कप में जो पहली परफॉर्मेंस आई मेरी धर्मशाला में, उसके बाद मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था कि लाइफ में एक मोमेंट आता है ना कि मैं ये ऊंचाइयां छूना चाहता हूँ। मैं बॉल के साथ वो फील कर रहा था, बॉल हाथ में लेके, कि मैं इससे जो चाहे कर सकता हूँ। वाह। तो ये एक टाइम पे आता है, ऐसे बैट्समैन भी आता है कि हाँ हमारा टच ऐसा होता है कि
इन द जोन जिसे कहते हैं।
नहीं, किसी दिन ऐसा होता है कि आप एज ए बैट्समैन भी अगर आप चाहें कि हाँ कि मैं ना मारना चाहूँ, लेकिन वो बैट में आके लगती है। तो वैसा ही वो फील चल रहा था। और जो मोमेंटम था टीम का वो आपने देखा ही है, और जो क्रेज पब्लिक में था, जो सपने सबको दिखते थे, उससे ज़्यादा तो हमें दिखते थे, रात को नींद नहीं आती थी। लेकिन कहते हैं ना, नसीब को कोई नहीं बदल सकता। लेकिन मैंने वो बॉल के साथ वो फील किया है, ऐसा लगता था जैसे मैं बात कर रहा हूँ बॉल के साथ, और बॉल मेरे हिसाब से चल रही है। तो वो मेरी लाइफ के बेस्ट दिन रहे हैं वर्ल्ड कप के। वर्ल्ड कप मैंने बहुत खेले हैं, लेकिन वो बॉल के साथ जो कनेक्शन बना था, वो मुझे ऐसा लगता है लाइफ में कभी नहीं बना।
अमेजिंग, इट वॉज सीरियसली अमेजिंग टू वॉच यू परफॉर्म लाइक दैट। लेकिन जब आप पहले कुछ मैचेस में जब वेट कर रहे थे, जैसे आपने बोला कि पहले 1-2 मैचेस में आपको बेंच पे ही बैठना पड़ता है, तब दिमाग में मतलब बहुत नर्वसनेस थी कि मेरा मौका आएगा नहीं आएगा, कब तक आएगा, जब तक आएगा ऐसा ना हो कि मैं जो ये जोन है मेरा जोन ही निकल जाए जब तक मेरे मैच आएगा।
नहीं, हिस्ट्री उठाकर देखो, सारे वर्ल्ड कप में ऐसे ही हुआ है मेरे साथ। एक शो में मैंने और भी
Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world.
So this is the big story that is headline across the region. Israel has struck at Iran. There's also a report coming in of similar strikes happening in other areas. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, they've all reported that, you know, there are strikes. Iran has also carried out retaliatory action, but of course all their missiles have been intercepted, even though Israeli population is also on the edge. So that's the situation as it is unfolding. At the time when Trump's deadline was about to end, strikes have happened. Good evening. You are tuned in to CNN News 18. I am Arunima. Like we have been reporting, top focus this Saturday, the Israel-Iran conflict, which is escalating. The headlines. Unprecedented escalation in Middle East as Israel launches Operation Lion Roar, carries out preemptive strikes against Iran. A terror regime can't be allowed to have nuclear power. That's the reaction coming in after US President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the strike against Iran. Iran retaliates, launches counter-strikes, fires ballistic missiles and drones towards Israel, all intercepted. Israel media reports Iran's supreme leader Khamenei and Iranian president were targeted in the strikes. Iran versus Israel tensions spill across Middle East. Explosions and sirens heard in Qatar, Kuwait, UAE and Bahrain after Iran strikes back all United States military bases. India keeps a close watch. Indian embassy in Tehran issues advisory for citizens. Meanwhile, stranded Indian students sound SOS to Emir. A big story this Saturday. Iran's worst fears appear to be coming true as Israel and the United States launch major coordinated strikes deep inside Iranian territory. Israel says this was a preemptive strike to remove existential threats. Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump both have asserted in the strongest of terms that Iran cannot be allowed to have nuclear weapons. Iran is now retaliating, firing ballistic missiles at not just northern Israel but also US bases in Bahrain, Kuwait and UAE. Israel remains under a national emergency with schools, gatherings and most workplaces closed. And turning to the Indian angle now, India's embassy in Tel Aviv has issued an urgent advisory. Citizens have been asked to stay alert, follow all instructions from Israeli authorities, avoid non-essential movement and remain close to designated shelter. So that's the news that we have for you from the Israeli media. We're just putting it up on your screen. The Israeli media says the assessment in Israel is that there's a good chance that Ali Shamkhani, advisor to Khamenei and the person in charge of the nuclear program, has been eliminated. So that's what the Israeli media is reporting, that the assessment within Israel, this is the media which is attributing this to assessment within Israel, that there's good chance that Ali Shamkhani, advisor to Khamenei and the person in charge of the nuclear program, has been eliminated. Sanjay Suri with me. Sanjay, any further details?
Well, we certainly have to give a lot of credibility to any claim from IDF that names a person killed. The pattern so far has been when the IDF claims that someone has been killed and names that person, that does turn out to be true. And if true, and assuming this to be true, this is a very major early success. It is short of, from the US and Israeli point of view, the success of targeting Khamenei and Pezeshkian and in fact other leaders from the regime as well. But this shows what the priorities are, what the strategy is. It's to take out the leadership, to create a vacuum at the top, and beyond that also to send out a message to people. And as we speak, there's an alert that has sounded here as we speak, that there is an air, people have been advised to go into a shelter. So that means the
Take a moment, Sanjay. Take a moment. Take a moment. If there is an alert, I hope you are in a place which is safe for you. Just take a moment and ensure that you're safe there. I'm coming back to you. But on that breaking news, let me bring in the two guests who are joining us. Iranian activist Elahi Jamali joining us from London. Niag Ghorbani is also an Iranian activist. Thank you so much for staying on, Elahi. First reaction, Israeli media is reporting that the person in charge of the nuclear program has been eliminated.
Well, it's good news for Iranians and international community. Ali Shamkhani has been a lobbyist for a terrorist regime for many decades. He has the blood of Iranian people on his hands, and he's one of the most corrupt members of this regime. The amount of poverty fallen on Iranian people while him and his family have filled their pockets with the entirety of the wealth of the country. This is a good news. I hope more of the regime heads are eliminated, and I look forward to the end of this conflict very soon so that Iranian people can celebrate Nowruz in freedom and Israelis can celebrate Purim in freedom.
Right. Niak, you want to react to that? The fact that Israeli media is reporting, and like my colleague Sanjay, who's there in Tel Aviv, also said that anything that is being gauged by the Israeli authorities has to be taken with a lot of credibility. So when they say that Ali Shamkhani has been eliminated in the larger scheme of things, of taking off the Iranian leadership, how much of an achievement is this? What could this possibly lead to next?
Actually, the Iranian people was waiting for confirmation to get Ali Shawkani, which is he's really close to Ali Khamenei. During 12 days war, he was unfortunately saved from this attack. But right now, we get the confirmation from Iran, and we are happy to hear that Ali Shawkani get killed. But we have still long list waiting for get confirmation. And the Iranian people right now, I'm outside the embassy, Iranian embassy in London. The Iranian people right now, after hearing the Ali Shawkani killed, they are happy and celebrating, dancing here in front of Iranian embassy. Yeah, we are happy, but still waiting for Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi to return to Iran, and big celebration after Crown Prince coming back to Tehran.
Right. Sanjay, the Israeli media is reporting that the initial assessment indicates 3 senior Iranian officials perhaps were eliminated, including the head of military intelligence, the defense minister, and the commander of the Revolutionary Guards. Just put this into perspective in terms of what Israel and United States want to achieve. Is this good enough? After this, if a regime change happens, would that mean that the war will not escalate?
Well, when we say good enough, we are saying good enough from the point of view of the Israelis and the Americans, and certainly in terms of the operation that's been launched. These are very significant early successes for the operation, given that the target of this operation has been the regime as the #1 target, really. So these are key figures, and this is just within a few hours of the launch of the operation to have had that success, because they would have been watched, their movements would have been watched, and that the fact that they have been targeted means that the surveillance, the intelligence that is in place is very good. They're able to see who it will be. Now, I don't know if you can hear the alarm that's going on around me. There is clearly a counterfight from the Iranians coming in. There are missiles launched towards Tel Aviv here. But this success of the operation as launched does appear promising for the Israelis and the Americans. This is, of course, 3 very top people. One of them has been named, and this is within a few hours. If this is an operation that succeeds in targeting Khamenei himself, then the moral force or the habit, really, of an institution in place that is in Iran, that is the government in place in Iran, if that gets shaken, then the revolt can really get new fuel, new fire, and perhaps achieve successes they did not on the last occasion.
Sanjay, we can hear the siren around you, and IDF is also confirming this, that a short while ago sirens were sounded. That's because Iran is continuing to, target Israel. Retaliatory strikes are happening. But even after the 3 setbacks, as is the initial assessment, if Iran is continuing to retaliate, which means Iran is not stepping back, Iran is retaliating, and this could mean more escalation?
Would retaliate. The targets that we've seen have been top people within the government, or that is the targeting at one level. The other is the entire network of Iranian missiles, and this is a network. This is not one location. Of course, it wouldn't be.
Okay, I think we've lost that audio with Sanjay. Okay, Sanjay, we lost your audio in between. Okay, we'll try and re-establish that connection. But Niak, if you can come in on that, Iran's retaliatory action is continuing against Israel, Tel Aviv.
I don't know if you heard that, Arunima.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
I don't know if you heard that loud blast. Did you hear the loud blast? I just heard a loud blast. There has been a blast that I've just heard somewhere. are not sure what that is, whether that is an Iranian missile striking Tel Aviv or in the neighborhood where I am, or whether it is an anti-missile launch from the air defense system. Certainly, that can set off a pretty loud blast as well. In that case, that would have been a missile launched from the vicinity and the neighborhood where I am currently in order to target an incoming missile. Certainly, Iran is launching missiles, and Tel Aviv is very much a target. We have had a reminder siren, a reminder alert on our apps, and there appear to be air defenses under play as well.
And this is the latest that we have. Iran's defense minister may have been eliminated. We were discussing this with Sanjay earlier as well, that there could be three top, leadership of Iran who could have been targeted, at least three senior Iranian officials eliminated. This is the assessment of the Israeli media. Iran's defense minister may have been eliminated, is what Israeli media is reporting, and three others. And Sanjay Suri is with us. Aman Sharma is also joining us in a bit. Sanjay, once again, the loud blast that you heard, just talk to us about that and also put that in context. If three senior members of the Iranian government have been eliminated, as is being assessed by Israeli media, and these retaliatory actions are continuing, how do you assess the situation as of now?
Well, first the blast, it was a fairly loud blast, and it could have been the launch of an air defense missile. That's most likely what this was. But certainly if we have already, and we are just hours into this attack, already three top leaders of the Iranian government, Iranian regime, who have been killed and eliminated, then that marks an early success for the Israeli-US operation. The question then is whether this kind of elimination will be enough to start to develop and to widen cracks within the Iranian government, within the IRGC, whether they will begin to get alarmed or even to panic that they really have no means to withstand this assault, and whether they will then choose to surrender as President Trump has demanded. That is a very real possibility. It really depends upon how hard Israel and the US strike, how effective these are, and by early signs, these are quite effective already.
Right. So Sanjay there reporting of a loud blast around the area that he is in. Sanjay Suri is reporting from Tel Aviv. CNN News 18 is the only national news channel which is reporting from Tel Aviv. As far as that situation is concerned, it's fast developing, like Sanjay has been reporting. Niag Ghurbani, if you're still there with us, just help us understand these retaliatory strikes that are happening. I think more than 120 missiles have been launched by Iran against Israel. Having lost, if the Israeli media assessment is correct, having lost three of their top ministers and commanders, and this retaliation still continuing, your assessment, how long can Iran really hold on?
Islamic Republic, actually, they try their best to still stay in power. But this is the final, actually, battle. The Iranian people, after the US strike, they will come in the street and took over all the, governments, all the building of the government. Because the Islamic Republic will not actually controlling Iranian people anymore, because 15 days ago, more than 15 days ago, killed more than 80,000 Iranian people. They just asking for freedom. But, after the US strike, this is a really strong sign to Iranian people. The Western country, especially US and Israel, are behind us. And then Iranian people will show their power, and they will take the country back from the Islamists.
Right. Elahi Jamali, you want to weigh in on the situation as of this moment? Israeli media assesses that three of the top leadership of Iran might have been eliminated, but Iran is continuing to retaliate. So how are you assessing the situation as of now? Also, have you managed to establish contact with anybody who's currently in Iran?
Well, first and foremost, I hope, one can only hope that the three criminals who've got so much blood of Iranians on their hands are eliminated. And the situation will only escalate with the Islamic Republic on their final sort of tries to be intimidating in the region or at least keep face. But they already know that they have fully hollowed out. The recommendation and the reassurance that President Donald Trump gave to the armed forces who have been bearing arms against the people is incredibly shaking to the system and the core of this regime, because now they have to imagine their own allies putting down their arms, because Iranians know that this is indeed like Nihat Qorbani says, and like Iranian people inside of Iran have been saying for the past many years, but specifically for the past 2 months. This is the final battle, and Iran will be free, and Pahlavi will return home. This movement in Iran that inspired President Trump to make a promise to Iranians in order to bring about regime change for Iran, as the president has said himself time and time again, the action and the responsibility of regime change will, of course, fall on the shoulders of Iranian people. Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has mentioned this himself time and time again. Iranian people have came to the streets in their millions, and they've called in one unifying voice for the return of the Pahlavi dynasty. And this is because Pahlavi dynasty is not just a symbol of monarchy, it's a living memory of many Iranians to this day as to what life without oppression and modern lifestyle and growth was like, and what life under the Islamic Republic that gladly goes to hospitals and murders wounded people. I mean, the criminal atrocities against Iranian people over the past 2 months has brought this regime to the day that they are facing right now. And if these three criminals have been eliminated, I welcome that, and I look forward to the long list of elimination that must happen. As the president said, there will be time of judgment for those who put down their arms. And I look forward to that day, because Iranian people are peaceful, and they will peacefully take back their country. They will take back their country as they have been peacefully fighting without arms against people who are armed. So now the rescue mission is in place. The government buildings will be available for the Iranians to take over once and for all, once the bombs have already done their jobs.
Right. Nihat Qorbani, we know communication channels have been completely disrupted there in Tehran. But anything that you can tell us, anyone has managed to establish a contact with friends, family, people who are in London or other parts? Anything you can tell us about the situation as of now?
As I said, early morning today, my family members called me and telling me we are super happy because President Trump finally keep his word and start helping us. My friends in Iran, they messaging me and say, keep fighting, don't actually forget us, being our voice, we are happy, and we will take our country back. Yes, but right now we have limit internet in Iran because of the situation. Yeah, I just had from the Iranian inside Iran, they are happy and they have real hope right now about the strike.
Right, but if this escalation continues, the Iranian regime is also retaliating. They've put out a statement saying people of Iran should not worry in terms of essential supplies. We have enough. So if this escalation continues, how long do you think the people of Iran can really hold on? As of now, they have been told to remain inside their residence, not step out. There are not enough number of shelters there. So the situation on ground, can they hold on beyond 12 days like last time?
We Iranian doesn't have shelter in Iran. The Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi and President Trump asking Iranian people stay inside their home because the bomb is everywhere, and stay, calm at home and waiting for the announcement. That's why, yeah, the Iranian people are, waiting for the announcement to come to the street after the announcement, coming to the street and take over, the street and protesting against Islamic Republic and peacefully take over all the buildings
This is just
from
give
the
me a
government.
moment. Just give me a moment. We have news that is just coming in. United States is monitoring the operation in Iran. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is present there. United States is continuously monitoring the situation as it is unfolding. Reports say that Donald Trump, President of USA, is also present at this base where monitoring is going on from the Mar-a-Lago resort. And continuously, the Defense Secretary, the United States President and the top leadership is keeping an eye. They are in touch with their Israeli counterparts and they have been told that that's the assessment that, the top leadership of Iran, including the man who was in charge of their nuclear program. They've been eliminated. The defense minister report suggests that's the assessment of Israel, that the defense minister too has been eliminated. And Donald Trump himself is monitoring the situation. Sanjay Suri, if you're there with us, Sanjay is reporting live from Tel Aviv. Okay, I'm hoping Sanjay will join us in a bit. There have been repeated, alarms going on, sirens going off at Tel Aviv, warning people to take shelter. And Sanjay is there reporting live as all of these unfold. But once again, bringing in my two guests, Iranian activist Elahi Jamali is with me, also Niak Ghorbani. Elahi, Donald Trump himself, we are told as per reports, is monitoring the situation as it is unfolding. Iran is not holding back. They're repeatedly trying to strike at Israel and also at the US bases in that vicinity. How do you think, beyond the 12 days that Iran managed to hold on, today is, of course, day one, the first few hours, but do you see this stretch on for almost 2 weeks like we saw the last time?
I'm hoping it's going to be shorter than that, but from the look of things and the retaliation that the Islamic Republic is pushing forward, or at least displaying at the moment, it looks like it could be a little longer than that. However, I am hopeful that the surgical operations that are taking place at the expertise of the IDF and the US military, as the minutes are passing, we are hearing more and more of the lists getting longer of those who are eliminated. So as the regime is kicking off its final display of power, it is crumbling indeed. And it is quite historic and symbolic that the two countries that for